Yeah, No, we're waiting on Leader Schumer. Yeah, Clayton. Yeah, come on over. Hey, Charles. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you. You're gonna go, then I'll go. Yeah, I don't mind, but let's go.
Deirdre. Okay, please. Okay, here we go. Yeah, come on over. Yeah, come on in. Yeah, we met Leader Schumer. Sorry. Deirdre is ACLU and Reporters Without Borders. Yeah. So let me know when you're ready, sir.
Always savvy.
Thank you all for joining us today. Before we begin, I want to make a quick public service announcement to any broadcaster airing this press conference. You should proceed at your own risk, because apparently, under Chairman Carr's Federal Censorship Commission, broadcasting critiques of Donald Trump or his allies is now punishable by federal regulators with the loss of their right to be broadcasters. Of course, I'm joking, but the Trump administration is not joking. The fact that I even have to make a joke underscores just how serious and dangerous this moment is. I want to thank Majority Leader Schumer, Deirdre Schiffling from the ACLU, Clayton Weimers from Reporters Without Borders for joining us today for this very important press conference. The First Amendment is the beating heart of our democracy. It protects the right of citizens, of all Americans, to speak freely, to criticize their leaders, and to entertain and inform without fear of government reprisal. On Wednesday, Chairman Carr shockingly violated that principle when he threatened Disney, ABC, and their affiliates over a monologue by comedian Jimmy Kimmel. Carr suggested revoking the broadcast licenses of ABC affiliates and then delivered a line more suited for The Godfather Part 1. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Within hours, Jimmy Kimmel was off the air. Carr and his allies have tried to spin this controversy as a purely economic dispute between local affiliates and national networks. They have tried to argue that Kimmel's joke was factually inaccurate, and therefore the Federal Censorship Commission could penalize ABC stations for failing to act in, quote, the public interest. These comments are obviously ridiculous, and they are dangerous. This episode did not begin with local broadcasters. It began with Chairman Carr issuing a clear threat, and all because Kimmel made a joke which conservatives interpreted as false. It isn't about broadcasters upholding their commitment to act in the public interest. It's about Carr trying to force broadcasters to act in Trump's interest. Since when did the FCC become the arbiter of truth in the United States of America? The United States should be a model for free expression. Yet when a government official threatens comedians and news organizations, we begin to resemble the very governments which we criticize. In China, the Chinese Communist Party began censoring images of Winnie the Pooh online because people used the character to poke fun at Xi Jinping. Authoritarians know that humor is powerful, and so they try to crush it. Just a few years ago, a telecommunications leader said the following quote: "From internet memes to late night comedians, from cartoons to the plays and poems as old as organized government itself, political satire circumvents traditional gatekeepers and helps hold those in power accountable. Not surprising that it's long been targeted for censorship. He also said, free speech is not a threat to democracy, censorship is. That person, of course, is now the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr. Unfortunately, Carr has abandoned those principles, and so has the Republican Party. Yesterday, I sought to pass a resolution condemning Carr's statements on the Senate floor. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen objected to my unanimous consent request without any explanation or defense of Brendan Carr. His silence, the Republican senator's silence, is deafening. There's far, far too much silence from Republicans these days. Republicans used to decry a cancel culture. Now they just call the Federal Canceling Commission to cancel your show if you make fun of Donald Trump. So that's why we're here. We are here to defend the First Amendment, to defend the independence of the press, and to defend the right to mock your leaders without fear in our nation. That is what is at stake. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our great leader, Senator Chuck Schumer from the state of New York.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie, and thank you for your great remarks. And I want to thank you. I know Senator Lujan is on his way, the ACLU and Reporters Without Borders for being here today. We're at a moment of peril in America, a real moment of peril, unlike we have seen in a very long time. Because yesterday, Donald Trump admitted what this crusade against freedom of speech was really all about when he said the FCC should consider revoking the license of networks with shows and hosts who are, quote, against me and give me only bad publicity. And then specifically, here's what Trump said, if you can believe it. Trump said, I think maybe their license should be taken away. It'll be up to Brendan Carr. That is censorship. It is disgusting. It is a violation of the First Amendment. It's right out of Xi's and Putin's playbook. It is the path to dictatorship. Plain and simple. Donald Trump, in broad daylight, with his own enormous ego, without understanding what the rule of law or America is all about, is launching in broad daylight a naked attempt to attack, a naked attack against perhaps the most basic freedom in America, the fundamental underpinning of democracy, the right to free speech. Again, Donald Trump is doing what Putin does. Donald Trump is doing what Xi does. Censoring, shutting off, punishing those who say things he doesn't like to hear. And that's what this administration's all about. They don't want to hear anything against them. They don't understand what democracy is. Why is Donald Trump launching this attack? Because he hates to hear things he doesn't like to hear. And it's channeled through his newfound FCC flack, Brendan Carr, who coerced ABC to suspend Kimmel for comments he didn't like. What Donald Trump did yesterday was anti-American. It's straight from a dictatorship. And it's not the first time he did it, that's for sure. He has launched investigations and is continuing to investigate companies and bullying them into submission. We've never seen anything like this. Not from the great conservatives like Ronald Reagan or even the great conservative organizations. This is all out of Donald Trump's enormous megalomania, enormous ego, enormous self-infatuation. And it's not just Jimmy Kimmel, they said. They said they're going to keep going. When Carr goes on a broadcast and says the FCC can do this the easy way or the hard way to make sure Kimmel is silenced, that is an attack on every single media outlet, social media outlet, traditional media outlet, and on every single American, on everyone standing here. On everyone standing here. So today, I, Senator Markey, and other Democrats, we are demanding of the FCC to know how they define public interest under Carr. Is public interest Trump interest, and that's the only interest? Did Carr and his staff, we want to know, communicate in any way with Disney, ABC, or their affiliates in recent days? We need these communications, and we need them now. What happened to Charlie Kirk was abhorrent, plain and simple, but is repulsive that the Trump administration is perversely using this awful death as a predicate to supercharge their long-standing campaign against their perceived political opponents. It's not a new campaign. They've been engaging in it in an ever-escalating way to use the mighty power of the federal government to attack civil society, a page out of Orban. And their crusade is unending because of congressional Republicans' obeisance to Trump. We say to our Republican colleagues, where the hell are you? Free speech has not been a hallmark of just the left or the right, just Republicans or Democrats. It is everybody. Where are our Republican colleagues when this abhorrent attack on the very fundamental underpinning of democracy is launched? Their obeisance to Trump, their allowing him to roll into dictatorship, is appalling and will go down in history as a huge blemish on them. One of the hallmarks of America's freedom of speech, and Republicans know it. Republicans defended it. Sometimes they've expanded it way beyond where we would want. In things like Citizens United, we might disagree with the ACLU on that one. But the bottom line is very simple. If you lose your freedom of speech, it's the road to autocracy, to dictatorship. Carr is one of the single greatest threats to free speech America has ever known. We have never seen anything like it. He must resign, and Republicans should call for his firing immediately. But we will not stand by and watch Trump and engage in this targeting and retaliation of any kind of free speech he doesn't like to hear. We won't stand by and let the freedom of speech, a hallmark of America, the beating heart of our democracy, fall by the wayside. And we won't stand by and let America slide into autocracy and become a nation where no one can speak their mind without fear of retribution and punishment. Thank you, Senator Markey. Thank you, my colleagues. This is a sad, sad day for America. We've got to fight it with everything we have. Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Chuck. Now we're going to hear from Deirdre Schiffling, Chief Political and Advocacy Officer for the ACLU.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you. Free people speak freely. Free people read freely. They think freely. They laugh freely. The First Amendment to our Constitution is about our ability to watch and read what we want without government interference. It's about our ability to say what we want without fear of government retribution. And it's about our right to hear all sorts of ideas and decide for ourselves what we believe. Comedy is one way to do that. And God help us if politicians get to tell us what's funny. No offense, Senator. The First Amendment offers robust protection for not just comedy, but for most speech. The First Amendment is clear. No president, no government can punish or censor speech just because they don't like it. That prohibition extends even to the most vile, offensive, and hateful speech. It even extends to most false speech. The ACLU will not allow President Trump and his administration to weaponize government to censor and threaten anyone they perceive to be their enemy or who says things that they don't like. We will continue to show up in defense of the First Amendment, our right to speak truth to power, in defense of fundamental freedom, as we have done for over 100 years. Chairman Carr's threats to ABC affiliates show that the FCC is not afraid to serve as President Trump's speech police. Since taking over the FCC, Carr has brought baseless investigations into almost every major network, including CBS, NBC, and yes, ABC. President Trump has repeatedly sued media outlets when he doesn't like their reporting. The message is loud and clear. It's unmistakable. Negative coverage of the president will have consequences. Just a few days ago, President Trump sued the book publisher Penguin Random House, sued the New York Times, and sued 4 of their reporters for stories he didn't like. He and his administration are sending a dangerous message to the media that they should report as the president wants them to, or else. Unfortunately, some companies have shamefully and cynically capitulated in order to preserve their bottom line. CBS announced the cancellation of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, a frequent Trump critic, just 1 week before the FCC approved its parent company's merger. The timing of the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel is no accident. The owner of multiple ABC affiliate stations is trying to get merger approval from the FCC. These are large companies with national reach and ample resources to defend themselves and the First Amendment against this government. When they roll over without a fight, they are putting all of our First Amendment rights in danger. Free people speak freely. They read freely, they think freely, they laugh freely. A free press is critical for helping our nation's citizens stay informed, make their own decisions, and hold our government to account when it does not have their citizens' best interests at heart. The FCC and the Trump administration must step back from this dangerous cliff, and broadcasters must resist bending to political pressure. If we lose the fight to free expression, we lose what it means to live in a free society. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next we're going to hear from Clayton Weimers, Executive Director of Reporters Without Borders. Oh.
At Reporters Without Borders, we've been fighting for the last 40 years all around the world to defend press freedom and to fight against censorship. And let me tell you, we've seen this before. We've seen it in authoritarian countries all around the world, and we've seen it in countries that are backsliding out of democracy and towards authoritarianism. We see leaders install political cronies at the head of media companies, and when they can't do that, they blackmail and threaten the media into submission. Next, they arrest the journalists whose coverage they don't like. And this is not an idle threat. President Trump has said numerous times that he wants his Department of Justice to investigate the news media. He has said that journalists should go to jail for refusing to give up their confidential sources. Now he's saying broadcasters should lose their licenses for criticizing him. He says they're not allowed to do that. He's wrong. And by the way, they already have arrested a journalist in this country. Mario Guevara is going to spend his 100th day in detention this Sunday. He was arrested while covering a protest. He was arrested because he was a journalist, and he is still being held, even though all of the criminal charges against him were dropped. He needs to be released immediately. So when I say these aren't empty threats, I mean it, because they're already acting on them. We know where this goes because we've seen it in countries all over the world. We can't let it happen to the United States. We need to preserve American democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you to all reporters around the world who risk their lives every day to bring news, to bring information to the American people and to all citizens of the world. So are there any questions that anyone has? Thank you all so much for being here today. Appreciate it. Thank you.